MULATSCHAG.
White Sox, always the underdogs in Chicago, never the popular team in Chicago. I see a lot of punk rock correlations to White Sox and White Sox fans. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's an uphill battle being a White Sox fan in Chicago. So I do enjoy going to Cubs games. I've thrown the first pitch out at a Cubs game before. I grew up going to that field. It's one of the oldest fields in America, so it's got a lot of like really cool vibes.
So it's really a hard thing for you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think that they have a great organization, but I'm definitely a White Sox fan. I've sang the anthem at White Sox games, I think 3 times now. So if I go to see baseball, I go to see White Sox.
Let me give you a sentence, and you tell me what song it is.
Okay.
Bet your bottom dollar you lose the blues in Chicago.
I don't know. Is it
Frank Sinatra, Chicago?
Oh,
there you go.
I grew up on Black Flag and Minor Threat.
So you never got into that whole Chicago, kind of cliche?
No, I never did. I appreciate it for what it is, but like a lot of the music I got into was kind of a radical reaction to mainstream music.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Chicago always was a special place in the States. It's not LA, it's not New York.
Right.
It's really special. How would you describe it? Like, is it a mixture of people living there?
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of the country, and so we're not East Coast, we're not West Coast, we're not New York City, we're not LA, like you said. We're not fashionable or trendy, that kind of thing. We're our own little world, We are kind of a progressive hub, politically speaking, in the middle of America, which can be not very progressive, and we've always kind of stood alone. Chicago's very working class. People are real. They get down to business, I've always enjoyed the pace of life there, and it's a place that has very cold winters and very hot summers, so we are challenged weather-wise, and if people are there, it's because they love being there and they love that kind of like that intangible vibe that Chicago has that nowhere else has, and it's a real city. It's a real city. There's really only a handful of real cities in America, I think, and I won't say which ones aren't because I'll make them all mad. But like, Chicago's a real city.
And still, there are a lot of German-speaking people there, right?
Yeah, there's a huge like German population in and around Chicago. A lot of like German-themed like neighborhoods, and then all into like Wisconsin and stuff. There's all those cities are named after different German settlers and that kind of thing. So that exists for sure.
MULATSCHAG.
Ghost Note Symphonies, Volume 1.
Yeah.
How hard was it picking the songs?
It was really difficult. Partially why we called it Volume 1 too. So it's like we didn't have to shut the door on it,
Have a door open.
Yeah. 'Cause there were a lot of songs we're talking about. A lot of it fell into my lap because I had to figure out like how I wanted to play them. Some of the songs are in different keys, different instruments. There's piano, there's ukulele, there's violins on it. All that was a lot of fun to put together. We did it with Bill Stevenson from the Blasting Room. Bill played in Black Flag and the Descendants. He's done a lot of Rise Against records. We had a lot of help from everybody at that studio, and it really is a cool way to make some of these songs come to life. Songs that are, some of them are 18 years old, and a lot of our fans weren't even born, when the song came out. And now we've kind of brought them back to life and shown people what they can be. Especially lyrically, I was like proud of a lot of our early songs, and I was always afraid people weren't listening to our early records, and so this was a way to kind of get them to check out what the song was talking about. Yeah.
How often was it that you woke up like, I had an idea how to do this song, oh shit, we didn't put it on the record?
All the time. And now that I hear it, I'm like, this would have been fun, it was our first acoustic record, so we did it all in 12 days, the whole thing, and we were really venturing into unknown territory in a lot of ways, things we hadn't done before. So it was a lot of just groping around in the dark.
MULATSCHAG.
You put out Wolves.
Yeah. Wolves was like a metaphor for our reaction and the way we are reacting to what's happening in America, what's happening in the world in 2018. It's like, I think when you are faced with a challenge, when you are faced with adversity, something you need to overcome, you have a couple different instincts. You either bury your head in the sand and put your tail between your legs and go home, you know, and you don't fight back, or you fight back and you bare your claws and your teeth and you become this wolf. You become that character. And that's what we were kind of doubling down in our stance, saying we're here to fight. This is how we're going to react. If you push us away, we're coming back with our teeth showing. This is the time to kind of have to say some very common sense things like fuck racism and fuck sexism and fuck homophobia. You know, all these things, these ideas that are like monsters that we thought we put in cages a long time ago, but they're kind of breaking out. And someone like Trump gives permission for these ideas to exist again. And that brings out a lot of ugly parts of America. And as I've traveled around the world, a lot of ugly parts of the world, because even though his name isn't Trump, almost every country has a Trump-like character that's waiting to wrestle power. And it's happening in a lot of, there's a rise of nationalism, there's a rise of the right wing, there's a rise of a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment, and it's giving the wrong people power. You know, it's sort of an age-old recipe. You know, if you figure out what people are afraid of, blame it on somebody else, and push those right buttons, you rise to power. It's ugly, and it's ugly to watch an entire party like the Republican Party support this guy, you know, or support a candidate who was a pedophile, you know, 6 months ago. It's amazing and ironic to watch the Christian right of America support Donald Trump.
What's so fucking Christian about it?
There's nothing Christian about it at all. I mean, it's outed Christians in America as people who will put their party before their God, and it's made the Republican Party kind of responsible for this rise of Trump. So if you believe in Trump, you believe in Republicans. If you believe in Republicanism, you believe in Trump.
MULATSCHAG!
You know, I grew up listening to like rock and metal and that kind of stuff. I got way into bands like Fugazi and Black Flag, Descendants, you know, Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys, Bad Brains, Jawbreaker. I always loved bands like Nirvana and Soundgarden as well, though. Later in life, the music that really surprised me that I got into later in life was artists like Neil Young and Bob Dylan, Creedence Clearwater Revival, that kind of stuff. So I found some really cool music that was also political, but was also very commercially successful. So there was these artists that were sort of not sacrificing success for politics. You know, they were showing you, like, we sing songs about the Vietnam War and what's going on, but those songs live in the jukeboxes around the world to this day. They aren't fringe political artists, these are massive mainstream artists. I thought that was an interesting model for a band like Rise Against to kind of look at.
It's like Joan Baez. Oh, she looks so nice and she sings so nice, you know? It's like, fuck, listen to the words.
Right, totally. That's kind of what Rise Against is to me. It's kind of like a sugar-coated bitter pill. Yeah.
You guys did Fortunate Son.
We did do Fortunate Son. Yeah. What a great song. It's awesome. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a word, you know? That's a statement.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Donald Trump the fortunate son nowadays, you know?
Mm-hmm. For you guys being around so long, I mean, have you prepared something special for 20 years?
We haven't really
Do you sit down every night?
We haven't really thought about it, you know? It always takes somebody else to tell us how long we've been a band. We never really remember it. Yeah.
So you never talked about, all right, 20th, you know, we got to put out...
We haven't had that conversation yet, no. Not saying we won't, but we haven't yet.
You got a couple months to go.
Yeah, I guess you're right, yeah.
Let's say, I mean, we don't know what happens in the future, but technology-wise, it seems that in a couple years there might be a Moonbase, you know, something. Right. If they would call you, hey, want to be the first band to play the Moonbase?
Let's do it. Sign me up. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah. Amen.
Even if they say, come on, it might be you come home dead.
Hey, whatever. Let's make it happen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
MULATSCHAG.
Hey, this is Tim from Rise Against. You're watching MULATSCHAG, the only TV you need.
MULATSCHAG!